digital art and the non-fungible token. Hi there, I'm Jeff, and this is Plain English lesson number 352. JR is the producer, and JR has uploaded the full lesson to plainenglish.com/352. Coming up today, non-fungible tokens, or NFTs. They are where the worlds of art, technology, and finance collide. NFTs are a way for digital artists to sell their artwork, even though anyone can copy it an unlimited number of times. If it sounds confusing, that's because it is. I'm just preparing you. This one is going to make your head hurt. But hang in there because I think I can explain this. Like always, we have an English expression. Today it's bragging rights. There's a video online too. Transcripts, translations, flashcards, exercises. The full and complete lesson at plainenglish.com/352. But for now, let's dive into today's topic. The first ever tweet from Jack Dorsey. An animated flying cat with a Pop-Tart body. A collection of NBA basketball highlights. An image of Lindsay Lohan's face. This is art in the year 2021, and if you're laughing now, just wait until you hear the prices. Digital art is all the rage in 2021 thanks to a new way of authenticating and owning the ones and zeros that make up the digital world. That new way is called the non-fungible token, or NFT. The NFT is an entry in a blockchain ledger that gives exclusive ownership over digital art and media. The digital artist Beeple, his real name is Mike Winkelmann. Beeple is the face of this new way of owning and selling art. An auction from his catalog generated over $3 million in a single weekend in December. An image of his called Crossroad sold for $6.6 million on February 24th. It was a not safe for work illustration of a public figure with graffiti on his body. That was the most expensive sale of a piece of digital art ever in history. The record stood for about 2 weeks. On March 11th, the auction house Christie's sold a piece of Beeple's artwork for $69.3 million. To understand what an NFT is really, though, you need to forget everything you thought you knew about the word ownership. Think about what it means to own a Rembrandt painting and forget it. Think about what it means to own the rights to a song and forget it. Think about what it means to own a house and forget it. An NFT is something different entirely. An NFT is exclusive. You, as the owner of the NFT, You are the only person who owns it, the token. The token is an entry in a blockchain. A blockchain is a transparent ledger that unambiguously states who is the owner of a digital good. It's the same technology that powers cryptocurrencies. Therefore, as the owner of an NFT, you are, without question, the owner of a digital good. Nobody else has that same ownership. You can sell your token to someone else whenever you want. So this gives digital art some of the benefits the traditional art world has enjoyed: authenticity and scarcity. Authenticity means you are definitely the owner of one legitimate thing. Scarcity means it's not unlimited. You can duplicate the file as often as you like, but you can't duplicate ownership over the token. Well, so far, that sounds somewhat like ownership in the non-digital world. But here's where things get tricky. Ownership doesn't give you many rights in the way we typically understand rights to physical or intellectual property. Your token is an entry in a ledger. That's it. A public record that you are the owner. The proud new owner of Jack Dorsey's first tweet on Twitter doesn't have any exclusive right to view it. Anyone can view a screenshot of it. A tweet is an entry in a database, which is backed up multiple times. The new owner doesn't have the right to pull that entry out of Twitter's database. The computer it was written on is probably long gone. The only thing the token owner really gets is the token. It's similar for artwork. Take Nyan Cat. It's an animation of a cat with a Pop-Tart body and a rainbow tail. People have seen it millions, if not hundreds of millions of times. The buyer of the token, who paid $580,000, that buyer has no right to exclusive enjoyment of the artwork. You can pause the audio right now and view it online, and you can get just as much enjoyment out of it as the token owner can. A token buyer may not even have copyright in the legal sense of that word. Copyright laws protect ideas and works of art. Under copyright law, no one can reproduce the original work of another. The creator of a piece of art, visual art, literature, music, the creator has the right to the creation. Well, a token is not the right to the creation. In fact, an artist often retains the legal copyright even if they sell a token. So the buyer of the token only has the entry in the ledger attached to one file. The artist could take the exact same piece of art, change it by 1 pixel, and create another token around the new file and sell that. They could, theoretically, do this an unlimited number of times, not unlike an artist painting and selling multiple copies of essentially the same image. So what, you might be asking, is the point of buying a token? If you buy a Monet painting, you get exclusive enjoyment of that physical good. You can display it in your home or loan it to a museum. Either way, you decide. Not so with a token. If you buy the rights to a song, you can license the rights to radio stations and streaming platforms and collect payment every time that song is played. Again, that's not true with tokens. If you buy a token, all you get is bragging rights. That may be about it. People who buy the token are the recognized owners of the token attached to the file. That's all they get. And for them, that's enough. That, and if they buy directly from the creator, they get to support the work of the artist. Some sales are just bizarre. Lindsay Lohan created an NFT of her face and sold it for $17,000. The buyer made a quick profit, selling it for $57,000. The market is growing. Last year, 220,000 people bought non-fungible tokens for a total of $250 million in sales, 4 times higher than in 2019. One day, we'll look back on this and say, why didn't we think of this sooner? I just finished reading a huge biography of Mozart. And one of the things I learned is that most of Mozart's work was written for a specific performance. There were music publishers, and Mozart did publish some of his music, but there weren't strong copyright laws. So as an artist, he would write a piece of music for a single occasion. Someone would have a party or an event or a diplomatic reception, and they'd want music, and they'd hire Mozart to write the music. And then Mozart would rush to get it published. But once it was published, it was out there in the world, and Mozart wouldn't derive much additional benefit from it. And if a piece of music were played in public repeatedly, someone in the audience would copy it and rush to publish it themselves. And I remember thinking how different that is to our time, and what a tragedy. Mozart, one of the greatest composers, if not the greatest, was simply a servant of people who had an immediate need for music. It's just a reminder that the idea of art and the idea of how artists should be paid changes over time. There was a time when literature, theater, music, none of that was considered art until our definition of art evolved. So maybe an economy around NFTs will develop, and maybe we'll look back and wonder how the art world survived without them. Or maybe we'll look back and say, $17,000 for a JPEG of Lindsay Lohan's face? Really? Today's English expression is bragging rights. This is about as informal as we get in the audio lessons. Most of the informal expressions and slang are on the website in a feature called Learn the Lingo. But I did want to explain bragging rights to you since it's so important to understand the main lesson. First things first, to brag means to talk about yourself in a way that talks too much about your own strengths or achievements. I hate people who brag. I say, let your actions do the talking. You don't need to constantly talk about how great you are. You could brag that you have the most expensive car in your neighborhood. You could brag that you're the best cook in your family. You could brag that you scored a record number of points in your high school basketball team. You could brag that you're bigger or stronger than your wife's ex-boyfriends, whatever. Bragging is arrogant and it's not a great thing to do. However, there is one thing about bragging. It's usually true. Maybe it's not fun hearing someone talk about how he's got the most expensive car in the neighborhood, but he does have it. So if you brag about something, it's a legitimate thing about yourself that you are loudly, clearly, for everyone to hear talking about. But it is true, as distasteful as it might be to talk too much about it. So, what are bragging rights? Bragging rights is just what it sounds like: the right or the ability to brag about something. The right or the ability to say something good about yourself. Now, this is an example where the meaning changes just a little bit. Bragging rights is not necessarily arrogant. It can be, but it often isn't. We often say bragging rights when the only prize for something is the ability to say you won. I mentioned on an earlier lesson that I don't gamble. If I play cards, the only thing at stake is bragging rights. That means there's no bet. Nobody wins any money. If I win, or if you win, the only thing you get is bragging rights. The only thing you get is the ability to say that you won, the ability to brag about your win. Nothing more, nothing less. Let's say you are at the local basketball court and you and some friends are playing against some other people you meet there. There are a couple of other teams, and you arrange a mini tournament to see who's the best team out there. What does the winner get? There's no trophy. There's no money for the winner. Nobody's name is going to be carved on the wall of the gym. Nobody's jersey will hang from the rafters high above the court. The only thing the winner gets is bragging rights, the ability to say they won. Bragging rights usually only last until the next game, by the way. So let's go back to this lesson today: digital art. Buyers of non-fungible tokens get an entry in a blockchain ledger that proves they are the owner. That's it. They have proof they are the owner. But the artwork is digital. it can be enjoyed and reproduced all over the world in exactly the same form that you, the true owner, can enjoy it. The only difference is you have bragging rights if you buy the token. You can say you're the owner, and that will be true. The owner of the first tweet ever is no longer Jack Dorsey. He sold it. The new buyer has bragging rights as the owner of the first ever tweet. That new owner can't take the tweet down. He can't hide it from anyone else. He can't change it. He can't tell Twitter what to do with it. He can't add an emoji to it. He, the rightful owner of the tweet, can't do anything with it. But he has the bragging rights. He's the owner. Congratulations. He has the bragging rights, and no one can take that away. Bragging rights is almost good-natured. You may find yourself in a situation where you might place a bet. It could be a card game, a friendly sports contest, a race, a competition, a friendly bet. I'm watching the NCAA basketball tournament now in the US, and a lot of people bet on who can guess the winners of the most games. Some people bet money, but a lot of people make it friendly. So let's say you and a friend disagree about who's going to win the next 2 games. Your friend asks, "What are we playing for? What's at stake? What does the winner get?" But maybe you don't want to bet anything. You don't want to put actual money at stake. So when your friend asks, "What are we playing for?" you can simply respond, "Bragging rights." And that just signals that you don't want to bet any real money. The winner will get the right to brag about being the winner, and that's all. It doesn't mean you will brag. It doesn't mean you'll act arrogantly. Bragging rights is just the ability to brag even if you don't do it. Time for the quote of the week. We'll go quick since we're already a little longer than usual. I was reading an essay by the psychologist Esther Perel. She's got a podcast series and a few books out. She wrote an essay in an American newspaper about the effects of the pandemic and lockdown on mental health and anxiety. And I just liked this quote, so I chose it for today. She said, "Freedom in confinement comes from the imagination." How true that is. If we can't be out there in the world, we still do have our imaginations. It reminds me of when my family got a new refrigerator when I was like 5 years old. I got weeks of enjoyment out of playing in the box after my parents discarded the box. To this day, I remember it. So, and that's all imagination, by the way. So keep that spirit alive until we can get out and enjoy the world again. As Esther Perel said, freedom in confinement comes from the imagination. All right, so here's my plan. We're going to grow plain English so that it's extremely popular all over the world. And then we'll create non-fungible tokens. One non-fungible token for the first episode. Another one for the 100th episode, all the big milestones. That 100th episode will sell for more since JR appears at the beginning. What do you think about that? I'll keep dreaming. How about that? Speaking of dreaming, one of my dreams looks like it might come true. At the end of lesson 313, I dropped a little hint saying something I wish would happen someday. And it looks like it might be happening. That's going to be Thursday's topic. If you want a hint, go back and listen to number 313. Listen carefully. Listen to where I say what I wish someone would do. What I wish someone would do. And someone appears to be doing it. And that's what we talk about on Thursday. See you then.